Welcome to this deep dive. Let's just jump right in. We've built this massive digital world, right? But for decades, the front door, our identity online, it's been guarded by, well, passwords. And it's fundamentally broken.
They really are. You could call it the defining crisis of digital identity today. I mean, the stats are pretty stark. Passwords, that whole idea of a shared secret, they're constantly cited as the single biggest source of vulnerability out there.
Yeah, and the fallout from that is just huge. We saw some data, I think it said something like 77% of hacking incidents involve stolen credentials.
That's the number, 77%. It means, 3 out of 4 successful breaches happen because someone got hold of a password one way or another.
It's staggering. And that's why we're digging into this today. You asked us to look at FIDO2, and it's not just another patch, is it? It's presented as a completely different way of thinking.
Exactly. This isn't just like better multi-factor authentication, FIDO2 is. It's a fundamental paradigm shift.
Yeah.
A total rethink of the architecture.
Moving away from that weak spot, the shared secret everyone knows.
Right. To a model based on public key cryptography. Secure, decentralized, your secret stays with you.
And the payoff seems immediate. Things like phishing, credential stuffing. FIDO2 is designed to resist those from the ground up.
Inherently resistant, that's the key. So today we've pulled together some really detailed sources, the actual FIDO2 specs, architectural analyses, even case studies from companies already using it.
Okay. We're going to break down how it works, why that private key never leaves your device, and maybe crucially, why all the big players, Google, Apple, Microsoft, are basically all in on this now.
It's the future of online identity, or at least the standard aiming to be.
Right. So, section 1. Let's start at the beginning. Why did passwords, this shared secret model, fail so badly?
Well, the failure is baked in. It's structural. For a password to work, both you and the website, the service provider, we call them the relying party, or RP, both have to know the secret.
Which means the RP has to store it somewhere, even hashed and salted.
Exactly. Even hashed, it's still a representation of the secret. So you've got this huge database of credentials, and bam, that becomes the #1 target for attackers. A massive single point of failure.
And the attacks aren't just guessing anymore. It's industrialized. You hear about credential stuffing all the time.
Oh, yeah. One site gets breached, millions of usernames and passwords leak online. The criminals grab that list.
And just try it everywhere else. Banking sites, email, social media.
Automatically, because they know people reuse passwords. It's human nature, right?
So one breach at some small, maybe not so secure website can suddenly compromise your really important accounts.
That's the cascading failure. It dominoes, and we haven't even really touched on the usability nightmare.
Oh, don't get me started. Remembering dozens of unique, complex passwords, it's impossible.
It really is. So what did people do? They use simple ones, patterns, birthdays, pet names, or they write them down, sticky notes on monitors.
Yeah. So the user, just trying to cope, ends up making the problem worse.
And for businesses, it's a constant drain. Think about the IT help desk costs. Our sources point this out again and again. It's not always hardware issues flooding the help desk.
It's password resets, account lockouts, over and over.
Yeah, the sheer cost and time sunk into just managing passwords, not to mention dealing with breaches when they happen. It's enormous.
So for years, the answer was supposed to be multi-factor authentication, MFA. And it helps, sure, but it was still bolted onto that same flawed password system.
Exactly. Legacy MFA was a patch job, really, trying to reinforce a weak foundation instead of rebuilding it. And we've seen those patches fail, too. SMS one-time passwords, for instance.
Yes, the SIM swapping problem.
That's the one. Criminals trick the phone company, get your number transferred to their phone.
And then they just intercept the SMS code when you try to log in.
Yep, they get the code, they're in, bypasses the second factor completely, doesn't even need your password sometimes.
Okay, but what about authenticator apps? Like Google Authenticator, Authy, those time-based codes, TOTP. They're stronger, right?
Stronger, yes, but still vulnerable in a way FIDO2 isn't. Because one, they still start with a shared secret, that QR code or setup key you scan.
Right, the C.
And two, they rely on the user not getting tricked in real time. There are these really sophisticated phishing attacks now. Real-time relay phishing.
How does that work?
Okay, so the attacker sets up a fake login page that looks exactly like the real one, but it's actually a proxy. It sits in the middle.
Right.
You go there, you type your username and password, then it prompts you for your TOTP code from your app. You type that in too.
And the proxy just passes it all straight through to the real site.
Instantly. In real time. It logs in as you, using your valid password and the valid current TOTP code before that code even expires. Then it hijacks your session.
Wow. So even the time limit doesn't help if the attack is fast enough.
Correct. It shows that relying on any secret the user has to type or see. Well, that's the fundamental weakness.
Which brings us finally to FIDO2, the paradigm shift. Section 2. Let's unpack the architecture. How does it avoid these problems?
Okay, the absolute core difference is the cryptography. We're moving from symmetric keys where the secret is the same on both sides, like a password.
To asymmetric keys, public key cryptography.
Exactly. Think of it like this. You get a mathematically linked pair of keys, one private, one public.
Private key is the secret. Public key, not secret.
Right. The private key is what you use to prove you're you by digitally signing things. The public key is what you give out so others can verify your signature. Crucially, you cannot figure out the private key just by knowing the public key.
Okay, and where do these keys live? This seems critical.
It's the critical part. The private key never, ever leaves your secure hardware. It's generated inside, it stays inside, it does its work inside something like a security chip on your phone or a dedicated USB key.
Never transmitted, never stored on the website server.
Never. The public key, though, that's shared with the website, the relying party. They store your public key.
So if that website gets hacked and the attackers steal all the public keys?
They get nothing useful for logging in as you. A public key can only check a signature made by the private key. It can't create one. So stealing public keys is basically harmless from a credential theft perspective.
That completely flips the script on data breaches?
Yeah.
The risk shifts away from that central server.
Dramatically. It moves to the user's own secure device. Now, FIDO2 isn't just one thing. It's actually two main standards working together, WebAuthn and CTAP. You need to understand both.
Okay, WebAuthn first. That's the web standard part.
Yeah.
From the W3C.
Yeah, WebAuthn is the JavaScript API. It's like the universal language that websites use to talk to your browser or operating system about authentication.
So the website uses WebAuthn to say, hey, browser, I need you to ask the user to create a new key, or ask the user to sign this challenge.
Exactly. It defines those standard commands like navigator.credentials.create and navigator.credentials.get. It's the high-level bridge.
Got it. And then there's CTAP. That sounds more low level.
It is. CTAP, the Client to Authenticator Protocol, is from the FIDO Alliance. This is the language the client your browser or OS uses to talk directly to the actual authenticator hardware, the USB key, the chip in your phone.
So WebAuthn talks to the browser uses CTAP to talk to the key.
Precisely. And there's a version difference here that's important. CTAP 1 is basically the older U2F standard. It only worked as a second factor. You still needed a password.
Oh, okay.
CTAP 2 is the newer one. It adds support for things like PIN-ins or biometrics directly on the authenticator. That's what enables the truly passwordless experience, where the FIDO authenticator is your primary login method.
Okay, that makes sense. WebAuthn for the web request, CTAP for the hardware communication. This structure leads nicely into Section 3. The players involved. FIDO2 splits the trust, right?
Yeah, it uses a tripartite model. 3 key actors, each with a specific role, so no single one holds all the keys to the kingdom, so to speak.
First actor, the website or app, the relying party, RP.
Their job is pretty limited, security-wise. They generate the challenges we talked about, and they store the public keys. That's it. Crucially, no secrets. They don't handle your private key, ever.
So if their server gets breached, attackers find public keys, but again, can't use them to log in.
Exactly. Zero credential value in that breach, at least for FIDO2 users.
Okay. Actor 2, the user agent, the browser essentially, or the OS.
Right. Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Edge, or the operating system itself. It acts as the intermediary. It gets the WebAuthn request from the RP, translates it into CTAP for the authenticator, and manages the user interface parts. It's also like the security guard, making sure everything follows the rules.
And the third, arguably most important actor, the authenticator itself.
This is the heart of the security. The authenticator, the thing, could be hardware, could be software backed by a secure chip that actually stores the private keys securely and performs the cryptographic signing operation.
After you verify yourself to it, like with a fingerprint or PIN.
Yes, that user verification step is crucial, and we see 2 main types of authenticators out there.
Platform authenticators.
Yeah, those built right into your device. Think Windows. Hello, using your laptop's TPM chip. Or Face ID, Touch ID on an iPhone using the secure enclave. Super convenient, always there.
Tied to that specific device, though.
Right. Then you have roaming authenticators. These are the external ones. USB keys like YubiKeys or maybe NFC or Bluetooth keys.
Those seem more portable, obviously,
Yeah.
but maybe higher security.
Often, yes. They're purpose-built secure hardware, often certified to high standards like FIPS. And critically, they let you use the same key across different computers, different operating systems, essential for some workflows.
So platform for convenience on your main devices, roaming for portability, and potentially higher assurance.
That's a good way to think about it. The beauty is in spreading the risk. Instead of one big server database to attack, you have millions of individual hardware-protected keys. Much harder target.
Okay, let's get really technical now. Section 4, the step-by-step flow. How does registration actually work? Setting up a new FIDO2 key with a website.
Right, registration. This is where you create that link between your authenticator and your account on the website.
Step 1, the website kicks things off.
The RP, the website, generates a unique random challenge string. Really important that it's random and single use. This prevents replay attacks right from the start. It sends this challenge along with its own identifier, the RPID, basically its domain name, to your browser.
Okay, browser gets the request. Step 2.
The browser uses WebAuthn and CTAP to talk to your authenticator. The authenticator then generates a brand new unique key pair, public and private. The private key is immediately stored securely inside the authenticator.
And here comes the critical bit. Step 3, origin binding. You said this is the anti-phishing magic.
This is the core security feature against phishing. When the private key is generated, it's cryptographically tied or bound directly to the website's domain, RPID, that requested it.
So the key itself knows I was made for example.com.
Exactly. It's permanently marked. That specific private key will only ever sign challenges that come from example.com. It literally cannot be used on phishing-site.com, even if that site looks identical.
Okay, that's clever. Step 4, user has to do something.
Yep, user verification. Before the authenticator finishes creating the key and signing anything, it requires proof that you, the user, are present and intended this. That's the fingerprint scan, the face scan, the PIN entry, or even just tapping the button on a USB key.
Prevents malware from sneakily registering keys in the background.
Precisely. Then, step 5, the authenticator sends the public key, along with some other data like proof of user verification and maybe attestation info, back to the website.
And the website stores that public key, links it to your account, and registration is done.
Correct. The link is established securely.
Okay, now for the login. Authentication, I go back to the website later, I want to log in.
Similar flow, reinforcing the security. Step 1. The website generates a new, unique challenge for this specific login attempt, always fresh.
Sends it to the browser. Step 2, browser talks to the authenticator again.
Yep. Sends the challenge and the website's RPID down via CTAP. Now, step 3 is where the authenticator does its main job, the phishing check and signing.
Okay, what happens here?
First, the authenticator looks at the RPID from the website requesting the login. It checks, does this domain match the domain this private key was originally bound to during registration?
Ah, and if I'm on a fake site, phishing-site.com.
The domains don't match? The authenticator refuses to proceed. It won't even ask for your fingerprint or PIN. It just silently fails the authentication on the hardware level. Phishing attempt blocked, automatically.
Even if I was totally fooled by the website's appearance.
Doesn't matter. The hardware doesn't get fooled. If the domain does match, then it prompts for user verification, your fingerprint, PIN, whatever. Once you provide that, it uses the stored private key to cryptographically sign the challenge.
And that signed challenge, the assertion, gets sent back to the website. Step 4.
Verification. The website server gets the signed assertion. It looks up the public key it has stored for your account. It uses that public key to check the signature on the assertion.
If the math works out, it proves.
It proves that whoever signed the challenge possessed the correct private key bound to that website and verified themselves to the authenticator at that specific moment. Login successful. Access granted.
Okay, but what stops an attacker from, intercepting that signed assertion and just replaying it later to log in as me?
Good question. That's where the counter comes in. This is a neat detail.
A counter?
Yeah. Inside the authenticator, associated with each private key, there's a counter. Every time that key is successfully used for an authentication, the counter increments by 1. Let's say it goes 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
That current counter value is included inside the data that gets signed by the private key and sent back to the server in the assertion.
And the server remembers the last counter value it saw.
Exactly. The server keeps track. When a new login assertion arrives, it checks 2 things. Is the signature valid? And is the counter value in this assertion strictly greater than the last counter value I recorded for this key?
So if an attacker replays an old assertion with counter value 5, but the server already saw 5, or maybe even 6.
It rejects it, instantly knows it's a replay attack. The counter guarantees that each signature is fresh and unique for that specific login event.
Wow, okay, that's layers upon layers. Unique challenges, origin binding, user verification, signed counters.
It's a very robust system. Which leads us to really summarizing Section 5. The pillars of FIDO2 security. We've touched on them, but let's nail them down. Pillar 1 is clearly phishing resistance.
Through origin binding, the key only works on the correct website.
It's the defining feature. Makes the user's susceptibility to trickery almost irrelevant for this type of attack. The hardware enforces the boundary. This kills those real-time relay phishes dead.
Right. Pillar 2, resistance to other remote attacks.
Replay attacks are stopped by the challenges in the counter. Credential stuffing and dictionary attacks. Gone. There are no passwords to stuff or guess.
And the decentralization itself is a pillar.
Absolutely. Shifting the burden away from easily targeted central servers onto distributed, secure user hardware fundamentally changes the attack landscape.
You also mentioned attestation earlier. Is that another pillar?
It's a really important capability, maybe a supporting pillar for high security scenarios. Attestation is basically the authenticator proving what it is to the website during registration.
Like proving it's a genuine hardware key from a trusted manufacturer.
Exactly. It sends a signed certificate saying, "Hi, I'm a YubiKey Model X, serial number Y, and I meet FIPS security standards," or whatever its attributes are.
Why would a website care?
Think about a bank or a government agency. They might have a policy saying, "We only allow logins using authenticators that meet a certain security level." Attestation lets them enforce that. They can reject registrations from devices that don't provide the right attestation.
So they can ensure the private key really is stored in strong hardware, not just like a software file on someone's desktop.
Precisely. It guarantees the quality and security posture of the hardware where the all-important private key resides. Ensures the user isn't accidentally undermining the security model.
Very interesting. Okay, so the tech is solid, but for this to take over the world, people actually like to use it. Section 6, passkeys and the user experience.
Right. FIDO2 credential managed via WebAuthn using CTAP2 isn't exactly catchy, is it?
No.
So the industry, led by the FIDO Alliance and the big platform vendors, came up with passkey. It's just the user-friendly, consumer-facing brand name for a FIDO credential. Makes it much easier to talk about and promote.
Simple name, simple concept, hopefully. But within passkeys, there's a bit of a split, isn't there? This idea of security versus convenience.
There is, and it's a necessary compromise for widespread adoption. You basically got two flavors of passkeys. First, device-bound passkeys.
These sound like the high security ones.
They are. Strictly tied to one physical device, like that hardware security key, or maybe the secure chip in just one specific phone or laptop. They cannot be copied, backed up, or synced anywhere else.
Ideal for ultra-sensitive stuff, corporate secrets, big money transfers.
Exactly, maximal security assurance. But if you lose that one device, or it breaks,
You're potentially locked out for good. Recovery seems hard.
it can be very difficult, which is why they aren't ideal for everyday consumer use. That leads to the second flavor, synced passkeys.
Okay, these sound like the convenience option.
They are, designed for ease of use. The idea is that your passkey, the FIDO credential, can be securely synchronized across your trusted devices using the built-in credential managers of the major ecosystems.
It's like iCloud Keychain for Apple devices or Google Password Manager for Android and Chrome.
Exactly. Or Microsoft's equivalent.
Okay.
The passkey gets synced, so it's available on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, seamlessly.
Okay, hold on. If the passkey is being synced through the cloud, isn't that bringing back a central point of failure? Didn't we just say the beauty was the key, never leaving the device?
That is the crucial question, and the nuance is important. Yes, the credential data is synced via the cloud provider's infrastructure. However,
It's not like syncing a password.
no. First, the sync data itself is typically end-to-end encrypted, meaning Apple or Google can't actually see the key material itself. It's encrypted with keys derived from your device lock or account credentials. Second, and most importantly, even when the passkey exists on multiple devices, the core FIDO2 security properties still hold. Meaning each instance of that passkey on each device is still protected by the device's secure element and requires local user verification, biometric PIN. And critically, it still enforces origin binding.
So even if the passkey is on my phone and my laptop, Neither version will authenticate to a phishing site. The domain check still happens locally on whichever device I'm using.
Precisely. The phishing resistance, the core cryptographic security, remains intact. Syncing primarily solves the usability and recovery problem. If you lose your phone, you can still access your accounts using the passkey on your synced laptop and vice versa.
Okay, that makes more sense. It's a trade-off, maybe a tiny bit more theoretical risk from the cloud sync, but you still get the fundamental FIDO2 protections against the most common attacks, plus massive usability gains.
That's the calculation. It's seen as a necessary step to get billions of users away from passwords. You get this dual model. High-assurance device-bound keys for specific needs, high-convenience synced keys for the masses.
And what about our trusty old password managers? 1Password, Bitwarden, etc. Are they dinosaurs now?
Not at all. They're actually evolving. For one, we still need them for all the websites and services that don't support FIDO2 yet, and that's going to be a long tail.
All right, legacy logins.
And second, many password managers are integrating support for managing synced passkeys alongside passwords. They're becoming the central hub for all your credentials, old and new. So they're adapting, not disappearing.
Okay, that's reassuring. Let's shift to the enterprise world. Section 7, Adoption in Businesses. What's driving companies to roll out FIDO2?
It really comes down to tangible business benefits, stuff that affects the bottom line. The number one driver, usually, is cost reduction.
The help desk savings again.
Huge savings. Companies spend, millions collectively on IT staff time just handling password resets and account lockouts. FIDO2 drastically reduces that burden. The ROI there can be very quick and very clear.
Makes sense. Wow.
Productivity. Logging in with FIDO2, a quick fingerprint scan, tapping a key is just faster and more reliable than typing passwords, waiting for SMS codes, typing those.
Especially if you have multiple MFA steps.
Right. Some studies we saw showed login times reduced by like 80% or more in some cases. That's real time saved for employees across the entire company every single day. It adds up.
Faster logins, fewer lockouts. People can just get on with their work.
Exactly. And then there's the compliance and privacy angle. Regulations like GDPR, HIPAA, they put a huge emphasis on protecting sensitive data.
And passwords are very sensitive data.
The most sensitive, arguably. By moving to FIDO2, where the company doesn't store the user's secret, they massively reduce their risk profile and their liability if a breach does happen. No credentials to steal means lower fines, less reputational damage.
It's like offloading that specific risk.
It is. But deploying it isn't always simple. We saw that case study, the renewable energy firm. They hit some snags.
Yeah, they called it a manual nightmare. What went wrong there? It wasn't the FIDO2 protocol itself, was it?
No, the protocol worked fine. The nightmare was the management aspect at scale. They tried to handle provisioning thousands of employees with security keys, dealing with lost keys, managing different access rules for different groups, all manually.
Just spreadsheets and IT tickets.
Pretty much. It quickly became unmanageable. What they needed, and what successful enterprise deployments use, is an orchestration layer.
Okay, what does that do?
It's specialized software, often part of a modern identity and access management IAM platform that automates the FIDO2 lifecycle. Things like automatically provisioning keys based on user roles, setting policies like only finance team members with FIPS-certified keys can access the accounting system, handling user self-service recovery flows securely, managing device upgrades.
So it handles the operational complexity around FIDO2.
Exactly. Without that automation and policy engine, trying to manage FIDO2 for thousands of users is just, well, a nightmare. You need the tools to manage the scale.
Beyond the orchestration tools, what are other hurdles companies face? Technical readiness.
Yeah, making sure their existing IAM systems can actually speak WebAuthn and CTAP is a big one. Integrating with legacy apps can be tricky, and sometimes you have old hardware that just doesn't support the necessary underlying tech.
And the people problem. User adoption.
Always a factor. Change management is key. You need good training, clear communication about why this new login method is better and safer, and easy-to-use recovery options for when things go wrong, like a lost key or phone. People resist change, even good change, if it seems complicated or scary.
Okay, this brings us to a really critical point. Section 8. FIDO2 sounds amazing for the login itself, but what happens after you're logged in? This is a key nuance, right? Post-authentication, vulnerabilities.
This is super important and maybe the biggest caveat. FIDO2 does an incredible job of securing the authentication handshake, proving you are you when you log in. But once you're authenticated, the server typically gives your browser a session token.
Like a session cookie or maybe a JWT.
Exactly. That token is what keeps you logged in as you navigate the site, so you don't have to re-authenticate on every single click.
And that token can still be stolen, even after a secure FIDO2 login.
Potentially, yes. If the application doesn't protect that session token properly, maybe it's sent insecurely, maybe there's a cross-site scripting vulnerability that steals it, maybe a man-in-the-middle attack intercepts it after login.
If an attacker grabs that valid session token,
They can potentially hijack your session and act as you, completely bypassing the initial FIDO2 authentication that established the session.
so FIDO2 locks the front door securely. But if the website leaves the session keycard lying around inside, someone can still sneak in and impersonate you.
That's a perfect analogy. It highlights that FIDO2 is a vital part, but only one part, of end-to-end security. You still need secure session management, secure coding practices, proper TLS configuration. The whole security lifecycle matters.
Is the industry working on fixing that? Tying the session token more tightly to the FIDO2 login?
Yes, there are efforts. The most prominent is something called token binding. The idea is to cryptographically link the session token directly to the secure TLS connection established by the user's device.
How does that help?
If the session token is bound to the specific TLS connection, an attacker who steals the token but tries to use it from a different device or connection will fail. The server checks the binding, sees it doesn't match the attacker's connection, and rejects the token. It essentially locks the session keycard to the original person who entered the building.
Sounds powerful. Is it widely deployed?
It's complex. It requires support across the stack browsers, servers, operating systems, and adoption has been slower than hoped. It adds complexity, and many systems, especially older enterprise ones, struggle to implement it thoroughly. It's still an area of active development and standardization.
So the takeaway is, FIDO2 is the best we have for authentication, leaps and bounds ahead of passwords.
Yeah.
But you still need security throughout the whole session lifecycle.
Absolutely. Don't let the strength of FIDO2 lull you into neglecting other security layers. But even with that caveat, FIDO2's built-in cryptographic phishing resistance makes it the gold standard for login security today. That's why Google, Apple, Microsoft, everyone is behind it.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, from why passwords failed us, through the nuts and bolts of FIDO2 and passkeys, to enterprise adoption and even the session management nuances. Let's try to boil it down. What are the absolute key takeaways for someone listening?
I think there are three main things. One, FIDO2 fundamentally eliminates the risk of server-side credential breaches. Your secret, the private key, stays on your device, period. The website doesn't have it, so they can't lose it.
Right. 2, unmatched phishing resistance. That origin binding feature, where the hardware checks the domain, is a game changer. It stops you from accidentally giving your credentials to a fake site.
Nothing else does that quite as reliably. And 3, real business value. It cuts IT costs, makes employees more productive with faster logins, and reduces compliance headaches and breach liability.
So we're shifting security from something fragile we have to remember passwords stored on vulnerable central servers to something secure we possess hardware and verify ourselves to biometrics.
That shift is profound, and it leads to maybe one final thought, a question for you to ponder. If our digital key is now something we have, a device, and something we are or do, a biometric PIN, how do we handle losing that device?
Ah, the recovery problem again.
How do we design secure recovery methods that don't require falling back to insecure passwords or easily phished knowledge-based questions, but also don't leave someone permanently locked out if their phone gets run over by a bus, especially for those high-security device-bound keys?
It forces us to rethink what possession and identity recovery really mean in this new hardware-centric world. How do you prove you're you when the primary proof is physically gone?
That's the next frontier, balancing that ultimate security with practical, user-friendly recovery. It's a fascinating challenge.
It really is. Well, thank you for breaking all that down. Hopefully this deep dive gives everyone listening a much clearer picture of the FIDO2 revolution and what passkeys really mean for the future of logging in.
My pleasure. It's a critical technology to understand.
We'll catch you next time for the next deep dive.